When I announced the Human Trafficking Unit at the 13th Annual Human Trafficking Conference, awareness event last year, I explained that this unit had a clear mandate to identify and dismantle human trafficking networks operating in New Jersey and to bring justice to those who've suffered at their hands. As I said, not an easy task, but one that I know each of you understands all too well how important this work is. It's 2024, and yet we live in a world where some among us look at fellow human beings, not as fellow human beings, but as property, as a commodity to be sold, traded, used, and abused. And what's most, I think, unsettling for so many is that a seemingly innocent encounter with the wrong person or the wrong group can lead to human trafficking, whether that be sex trafficking, labor trafficking, or some other form of domestic servitude. It's a hard truth, and it's one that I think can be difficult to comprehend. And that's why today is so important. It's why we're focused both on prevention and awareness. Because one of our goals must be that the people of New Jersey understand that they are part of this fight, that we all have an obligation in this effort. To that end, I am pleased today to announce a new public awareness campaign aimed at interrupting human trafficking, and we're calling it Stalls for Safety. It stands for, and we like acronyms here, so bear with me. It stands for Sanctuary from Trafficking, Awareness and Linkage to Law Enforcement and Services, Stalls for short. It's, I think, a simple concept, again, come up with by the team that I just highlighted, as well as working with many advocates. It includes brightly colored posters, which will be placed in public restrooms across New Jersey, highlighting the best ways for anyone who is in a human trafficking situation to reach out for help. The placement of these posters inside public bathroom stalls is meant to bring them to human trafficking victims, bring information to human trafficking victims, information on how to access help when they are most likely to be alone or at least temporarily safe from their trafficker. Victims will be able to obtain numbers for the New Jersey Human Trafficking Hotline and the National Human Trafficking Hotline quickly and discreetly simply by scanning a QR code at the bottom of the poster. The posters will also urge anyone with information about suspected human trafficking activity to make a report. And the posters are going to be printed in English and in Spanish. We're going to work with all of our sister agencies as well as our community partners and business owners, and we're asking every business in the state of New Jersey to put these posters in their stalls so that they can be placed in as many locations as possible, whether that be a business, a transportation center, a rest stop, a recreation facility, a spa, a salon, you name it, because we know that human trafficking takes place everywhere. It takes place in our largest cities, in our smallest towns, rural parts of our state, our suburban communities. It impacts our most vulnerable residents regardless of where they live. And we know that human trafficking is a crime whose victims are all too often hidden in plain sight, and that signs of human trafficking go unnoticed because the relationship between the trafficker and the victim all too often masquerades as a consensual romantic or familial relationship, or sometimes even as a legitimate employment relationship. Just recently, to highlight an example of this, a state grand jury indicted a Philadelphia man who was allegedly operating a human trafficking network in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania. One of his alleged victims was a 15-year-old girl. She managed to escape from a hotel in Burlington County where she had been held captive and sex trafficked. A second victim was also found and safely recovered. The defendant, who was allegedly advertising online that his victims were available for sex acts, faces a 16-count indictment. It includes 2 counts of human trafficking, which is a first-degree offense. His arrest came after a months-long investigation by detectives from the New Jersey State Police Missing Persons and Human Trafficking Unit, the New Jersey State Police Special Investigations Unit, and the Division of Criminal Justice. We pray for those survivors. And last spring, a man was arrested and charged with first-degree aggravated sexual assault, among other charges, after allegedly kidnapping a woman in New Mexico and holding her captive for nearly a year before she escaped her residence in Burlington County. Again, we pray for her as well. In both of these cases, the alleged victims broke free when they saw an opportunity. But we all know that for too many, those opportunities are not available. That's why we must provide lifelines and make awareness for everyone, including through the new Stalls campaign that we're announcing today, at every possible opportunity. It's also important that we highlight, call out, and correct some of the misconceptions and myths around human trafficking, including the notions that human trafficking is something that only happens to other people, that it only happens in other countries, and that it only affects people without means. While it's absolutely true that human trafficking does disproportionately affect women and girls and people of color, human trafficking victims can be any age, any race, any gender, any nationality, and they can come from every socioeconomic group. Dispelling these common misperceptions is critical because the scope of the problem requires vigilance in every neighborhood, in every town, in every community, every county, every corner of our state. Indeed, every corner of our country and across the world. To give a sense of the size of the global challenge we face, in 2022, the International Labor Organization, which is a United Nations agency, found that an estimated 27.6 million people worldwide were victims of forced labor, bonded labor, forced child labor, sexual servitude, and involuntary servitude. Again, that's almost 28 million people around the world deprived of their human rights, 3 times the entire population of the state of New Jersey, more than the amount of people who live in the country of Australia. In New Jersey, we're committed to using every available resource, whether that be through legislation, our community partnerships, through violence prevention efforts, law enforcement, and others to stop and prevent human trafficking, which is where all of you come in. That's true whether you're members of law enforcement, and I thank each and every one of you who do this work. And by the way, let me just reiterate, particularly this week for our law enforcement members, we also are here to take care of you. This is hard work, and you experience traumas alongside those who are suffering and surviving. And don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. But it's also true for our community partners, our advocacy groups, and of course, the brave survivors themselves. And I cannot commend survivors who have the courage to speak out after their traumas and become just the most powerful advocates I think I've ever seen. So we have to work together. We have to work together to educate people and raise awareness of what is not only a thriving criminal enterprise, but I believe is a global health issue. Unfortunately, New Jersey is a hub for this type of activity, largely because of our location, which in so many ways is a benefit for our state, sandwiched between some of the largest markets in the world, New York City, Philadelphia, not too far from Baltimore. But it's also a challenge in this context. And while we can't change our geography, through collaboration with my office, with the Division of Criminal Justice, the state police, and with all of you, we can work to combat human trafficking in all of its forms. That means we can hold gatherings like this one, to combine forces with each of you to increase awareness, to identify and assist victims, to prosecute perpetrators, and to stop cycles of abuse and violence that often plant the seeds through which human trafficking can grow. Today, you're going to hear from experts, including our extraordinary keynote speakers, Dr. Donna Sabella, founding and executive member of the Global Association of Human Trafficking Scholars, and our closing keynote, survivor and advocate, Marty McGibbon. I urge you to not only take note of what you hear, but to share your ideas, share your concerns, and share your suggestions for how we can collectively address the incredible challenge of human trafficking together. Our goal is not just to end the horrors of human trafficking, but to save lives, to save victims and survivors, and to ease the physical and emotional pain that they experience and that they will carry for the rest of their lives. I know it's an ambitious goal, but it's one that I believe we can work together on and collectively that we can address. So I thank you. I thank you for your tireless commitment to this work. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your trust in our office. And I wish you a very productive day. And most importantly, I look forward to what we'll accomplish over the next year when I have the great opportunity to stand before you again. So God bless you. Thank you.